So lockdown is easing and I'm looking to shake up my collection. It's time to don the mask and visit some ADs. I'm Andy and welcome to the English Watch. Now, during lockdown, not only have I not been shaving too much, but also thinking about my collection and how it could evolve. Although I enjoy each individual piece and they all have a reason for their place, as a whole I think it lacks balance and I may have been a little hasty on a few pieces. As collectors, we're on a journey and can get a little lost, losing purpose or focus as we acquire the things we like. And sometimes, like me, we don't intend to start a collection and call it a hobby, but get drawn into that rabbit hole, that first one being the gateway into a magical world. After all, each watch we own or lust after has a story to tell. These are not just white goods, and there are certainly better ways of telling the time more accurately. Sometimes it's the story alone that hooks us in. Now, I've watched hundreds of hours of watch talk on YouTube and podcasts alike, learning those stories and loading useless fact after useless fact into my memory banks as I listen to Tim Mosso on Watchbox or Archie Luxury with his unique style. And as a few of you out there, I found TGV very early on in my watch career at the Urban Gentry and gained plenty of value from those early productions. But now I've matured as an owner and a collector and able to rationalise my own choices. I still enjoy watching new content, and now maybe I'm your first entry into the world of watches, so I hope you're paying attention. If you think I'm making sense and my style appeals to you, please subscribe to this channel and check out my website, theenglishwatch.com. I'm flattered by the support so far and hope to continue to share my journey with you. So I believe I'm now at that point where we need to take stock and hopefully put some of that knowledge to good use and share my thoughts and experiences once again with my audience. But just remember though, this is still about buying what you like rather than what someone else tells you should like. Now I think I've listened, learned and managed to buy pretty well with a few pieces that have been offered at either level of discount or are popular on the used market. So hopefully any losses could be written off as a nominal rental, and I'm okay with that. So no baths to be taken here or shirts to be lost, and with any luck, maybe just a little shower. I mean, unless you're lucky enough to pick up one of those hot Rolex or Patek Phillipe models, most of us will need to bridge the gap for the next one. Now, through these visits to the authorised dealers, I've experienced a number of watches and compiled quite a bit to say. So I'll split this into a number of parts and ensure the actual watch reviews aren't lost at the end of this video. I hope to get these released later in the week. So stay watching now to hear about the 6 possible new models I'm looking at and why they're on my list. Now today I'm wearing my 2020 Rolex Submariner date, reference 116610LN. The recent hot weather have been no place for a leather strap, and steel bracelets don't come more comfortable than this oyster with this handy glide lock clasp. Anyway, the outcome of all these deliberations is that I want to reduce the number of black dial sports watches from 3 to 2 and add some contrast. Now luckily I have my blue dial 43.5mm Planet Ocean 600m diver still in the collection. This one is currently in rehab back at Omega, and I desperately need old Blue Eyes back to brighten up the watch box. So in this instance, a photo will have to do for now. It's like speaking to a relative or friend on Zoom. You can see them, but you can't give them that big hug. Not long now, old friend, and I'll do that unboxing and full review once it lands back. Now this piece fits nicely into the collection, especially on the blue rubber strap I featured last time. Please check out that video where I compare the genuine Omega rubber strap with the budget reproduction. And while you're at it, please give this one a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And make sure you leave any comments at the end and tell me if you've been having similar thoughts about your collections. With my Speedmaster Professional clearly established in the lineup and the Submariner an excellent all-rounder, I have 2 classic black dial sports watches with bags of personality and heritage, solid if obvious pillars of my collection. And as mentioned, the Planet Ocean is here to stay for now and was the first watch I bought after my father passed away in 2018. So definitely not first on the list to go. But having given up my first luxury watch last year that I owned since 2001, I'm learning not to be too sentimental. Unless you're lucky enough to have the means, pieces will need to be moved on. And if you don't enjoy them and don't wear them, you could be inhibiting your ability to grow as a collector and experience new pieces. But for God's sake, tell the wife if you're going to sell the one that she bought you. So in my collection, the piece most at risk is the Tudor Black Bay GMT, a watch I have worn and enjoyed for over a year, but a watch I didn't seek out. I like it, and I'd prefer it on the leather strap as previously reported, but not enough to keep it out of the relegation zone. This piece was offered to me by my local AD when they were still waitlisted and at a time I was looking for my first Rolex. I thought this would be a good way to forge a relationship that would ultimately lead to that Rolex Steel sports watch at retail, which it eventually did with my Submariner date I picked up in January this year. Thanks, Jarim. And before you ask, no, I've never experienced any issues with the Tudor GMT. It's a solid performer and consistently losing just under 2 seconds per day. Now here in the UK, lockdown restrictions are easing, so in the last week I've been visiting a couple of authorised dealers in my district. If you are in the UK, as I am, you'll need to check ahead if you're planning a similar trip, as you may need to make an appointment, and this is to ensure that stores can maintain social distancing, but also helps with the track and trace for the staff and customers. A simple call to the store is all that was required to set this up. These appointments are important and recommended anyway, to be honest. After all, these are expensive, emotionally driven purchases, so we want to take our time and not just dash out as if we want to buy a pair of undies. And the good news is, the dealers are well prepared and looking to welcome their clients back and meet new ones. I've heard that footfall has dramatically increased of late, giving a welcome boost to the economy, and it's good to see confidence in the market and people flocking back to make, let's face it, unnecessary purchases. And I'd say it may be worth holding out for a potential VAT or sales tax cut, depending on your region, as a short-term measure to kickstart the economy. But if you've spent the last 3 months obsessing over a couple of watches, go and find them, try them on. If a tax cut comes along in the window you're planning to make a purchase, then great. But if not, just remember the Swiss watch industry has not been shy in making quite significant price increases over the last few years. And I'm still feeling a little gutted about my Submariner that it didn't land a few weeks earlier and I avoided the £500 January price hike. Now the two authorised dealers I visited were Goldsmiths, a staple of the UK High Street and part of Watches of Switzerland Group, and a new one to me called Pragnell's. This is located in Stratford-upon-Avon, just a stone's throw from Shakespeare's birthplace. And since the restart of my collection 2 years ago, all my watches have been purchased through the Goldsmiths stores. But their range near me is limited, so I looked to see what other dealers are out there in my area. And I came across Pragnell's, who stock a number of Richemont brands such as IWC, Panerai, Cartier and JLC, but also Rolex, Tudor and Omega. They also have some more difficult to find brands such as Patek Phillipe, Blancpain and one of my favourites, FP Journe of Watchbox fame. So a nice range, and I think the inclusion of Zenith would make it a one-stop shop in my eyes. Now I've been in contact with G, one of the sales advisors from Pragnell's, for a number of weeks, inquiring about the 50th anniversary Speedmaster Snoopy Award due in October this year. Now G invited me in and I suggested a few watches I'd like to check out. I also cheekily asked if it was okay to do some filming, although as we'll see in the results, this was quite a challenge. I may have had the shutter speed set incorrectly. The watches I requested needed to have a coloured dial other than black or blue and potentially be a replacement for my Tudor GMT. So, for my consideration would be number 1, a Rolex Explorer 2 polar dial 42mm reference 216570. I tried the 40mm version on when I visited Govberg in Philadelphia last year and was really taken by it. Sadly no photo of the watch, but I did get to sit in Tim Mosso's old chair, meet Batman and try on a few FP Journes. Well worth dropping in if you're in town. I plan to drop into their Swiss branch in Neuchâtel at some point this year, on my travels all being well. The Explorer 2 is on the list of potential updates as well this year by Rolex, but we'll see. Number 2, the Rolex Milgauss Z Blue reference 116400GV with the green dial. Another watch I've tried on previously, and in fact I passed on this one last April and remains the only watch other than the Speedmaster Apollo 8 that made me giggle with joy when it donned my wrists, and also on the might be discontinued list from Rolex this year. Number 3, the new Omega Seamster Bond Special Edition on the Milanese bracelet reference 21090422001001. This one's an outsider, but as an Omega and James Bond fanboy, had to give it a go and see if it's more than just a novelty watch. We'll see. Number 4 goes to the Omega Speedmaster First Omega in Space reference 31132403001. Now look, I know what you're saying. It's a black dial and I've already got a Speedy. I know, but I'm slightly obsessed with the CK2998 and will consider a swap for my Speedmaster Professional for this one. I'd really like the 321 caliber Ed White, but that one's just out of my league. Right, 5th and 6th go to the 2020 Jaeger Ultra Master Control Dates reference 4018420 and the Master Control Calendar reference 4148420. These pieces, along with the chronograph, were released at Watches and Wonders a few months back. I think the calendar version hits the best balance of price and complication, and the icing on the cake being that moon phase. I've been two-timing my obsessive behaviour between this one and the CK2998 since the pictures first dropped back in April. Now, I covered the Master Control on their release in a prior video, so to see them and experience them firsthand would be quite an experience. So what was it like? It's fair to say that on both occasions we were treated impeccably. My wife and me greeted at the entrance of each store and asked to use the hand sanitizer before entering. We both wore masks out of courtesy as they were doing also, but this wasn't expected. And once taken to the seated presentation desk, the salesperson sat opposite behind a perspex screen. Now I'll tell you about the visit to Goldsmiths first, as it was here that I was first acquainted with the first Omega in space. This was the only watch they had in the store that I fancied trying on that day, and given I have a few things to say about it, I'll leave this for another video. This watch needs its own platform and space to breathe and be heard. So me and my wife find ourselves at Pragnell's in Stratford, and like most dealers where high value watches and jewellery are sold, there was a security guard outside. Now I had a knapsack with my watch roll and camera gear in, so I was keen to get in quickly. And I'm pleased to say they were very courteous and by no means intimidating. Although I imagine if my knapsack was accidentally filled with a few watches and I made a run for it, our experience would have been very different. Now at this point I'm going to finish the video and create separate editions for both the JLC Masters and the first Omega in space and wrap up the video of the other watches I experienced, including the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, Seamster James Bond No Time to Die and a Rolex Datejust 41. So please leave your comments and let me know if you're aligned to my thinking or can suggest alternative collection combinations. Maybe there's one I'm missing, like the Zenith El Primero Chronomaster, one I need to check out at some point when I get the chance. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to how nice it was to get back to a form of normal and start to touch and feel the watches that appeal to me. I would encourage anyone to do the same and not just go off photos alone. These are expensive purchases after all, and you wouldn't buy a car without a test drive, I'm sure. So please don't forget to subscribe so you're notified when the follow-up videos land, and check out my other recent posts, and if you're new to the channel, give them a thumbs up. Now, this has been The English Watch. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. I'm learning to not be too sentimental. You utter bastard.